0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to what feels like our first normal edition of the Phixated Podcast in 3 years. It feels like 3 years. I got to be honest. This just feels like we've been doing like recap shows for the last 3 years of my life. I feel like I've aged tremendously.
Yeah, just keep running. We were running on emotions.
How about it? My name is Mike Azzolina. I'm the host of this show. If you are listening for the first time, some of you may be. And I am joined by a guy who actually might be famous. Regs.
Buddy,
we're here.
You're famous. I'm
not.
I'm not getting recognized in the street.
To be fair, they knew both of us. I mean, that is, all right. So how now the story goes.
You have to tell the story now, because this was one of the most emphatic texts outside of sports I think you may have ever sent me in our entire however many years we've known each other.
I would love to go back through our text messages from when we lived together in college, because I'm trying to send you some pretty emphatic texts. The start of this text chain is just me, Regs in all caps.
Yep. And
that's what it was.
No context. And I have no idea. There could have been a million things that could have came after that. I had no idea what was next.
Yeah. So Halloween evening, I'm actually outside by myself. Andrea, my wife, is really sick, in bed and just not able to, be outside to see, the kids in their costumes. And Riggs, I don't know about you. One of my biggest pet peeves in Halloween are the older kids that walk around. They don't dress as anything. They either put a mask on the top of their head or wear
a jersey that they have. Yeah.
Right. Which is actually where we're going here. But that, something that's just not really, I don't know. It's a pet peeve. So anyway, you get your cute kids coming up with their princess outfits on, or, you see a couple that are super creative. We have friends in the neighborhood. The one little girl dresses as a street sweeper every year.
Hilarious.
It's hysterical. So I don't know. It's probably, I can tell you the time right now, 7:00, because I texted you at 7:18.
Yep.
And this huge group of high school kids, 15 of them, come walking up my driveway, and I'm like, oh gosh. And they're all wearing jerseys.
Okay.
So there's there's 7 girls, 8 guys, something like that. And there's a girl wearing a Joel Embiid jersey. There's most of them are wearing local teams, local-ish teams, New York teams, Philly teams. I didn't see a Dallas jersey or anything like that. But I'm giving candy away. I give candy to this dude wearing a Jalen Hurts jersey and another dude wearing a Bryce Harper jersey. And they're the first couple of kids that get up there. And then they step to the side. And I hear the one in the Harper jersey say, yo, is that the guy from Phixated? And the other kid was like, ask him. He's like, no, you ask him. And I'm just kind of laughing. I'm like, there's no way I heard what I just heard, And
do you have a Ring doorbell where we can get the footage of this? Do you have a?
We do have a Ring doorbell.
Could we get the footage of this?
Remember, it's raining, so I'm under the awning of the garage. You won't be able to see.
Okay.
You might be able to see them come up the driveway.
Oh, I wonder if we can pick up any of the audio.
Yeah, let me look back, and I'll look back and see if we can find it. Yeah, I'll look back. How far back does Ring go? Can I go as far back as
It depends. I don't know if you got to pay for it or not, but
okay. Well, we'll see. Anyway, so they eventually just ask me are you the guy from Phixated? And I go, I am. And they were like, we love your show. We listen to it all the time. And I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? That's my initial reaction. No, you don't. Because I'm wearing this. I have the whole fix. So I thought they were screwing with me. I was like, you guys are just because of what I'm wearing. And the one kid was like, no, Warriors baseball. And I was like, they do listen. I was like, where did you guys find it?
Yeah.
And the one kid was like, oh, we found it on YouTube, searching like Philly sports stuff. And my dad, the one kid was like, my dad and I watch it every week. We watch it on Friday morning or Saturday morning, whatever. And I was like, that's amazing.
That's insane.
And then they asked if they could take a picture with me, and I said yeah. So they took a picture, just the two of them with me, and then like the 8 guys, and then a few of the girls wanted a picture. They had no idea who I was, but they took a picture, and then they were off on their merry way.
Unbelievable.
So Keith and Skylar and Keith's dad, shout out to you guys.
Seriously.
I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you're enjoying. Keith, you never posted the picture though.
Oh yeah, we haven't seen it.
Said he was going to post the picture. I felt like I looked really good that night. So
I'm sure you did. Well, especially in the Phixated gear.
Which everybody should buy. Merchandise link in the description.
Good job.
Thanks, man. Thought we'd fit it in there. So yeah, really cool
Just
moment.
An unbelievable story.
One of the coolest things, and now I'm gonna look back on my ring cam. I don't think it never clicked for me to do that, but the way that our ring cam is set up, and you've been to the house, like we have like the awning that comes out, and then our garage, and it was raining, so I was actually sitting like in the garage because I didn't feel like getting wet.
Yeah.
And they came all the way up. Like I only met little kids about like halfway down. But I am gonna look back because it's not even like 3 weeks yet. So there's a possibility that it's there. And if I can find it, well, maybe we'll post the footage. But
just crazy.
Yeah, because like of all places, right? Like in Hummelstown.
Right.
So Regs, we actually have people that listen that we don't know.
That's maybe even the most shocking part, that somehow, I mean, listen, that one video has almost 300 views on YouTube.
Well, and I think I didn't ask which video specifically they started watching.
Yeah.
But they knew about Warriors baseball.
So it had to have been a while back.
Yeah, they've had to been listening for a while.
Or they went back and like started from the
beginning. Maybe they went back and listened from a certain point.
But still, dedication.
They did not mention Moo Duck.
Okay.
Roll Duck.
So, listen.
I don't know. We have talked about Warriors baseball since Moo Duck.
If you guys are listening on the YouTube vid, let us know when you started watching.
Yeah, please do. And maybe some of your friends that met me that night are now listening too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And if you are listening and you have no connection to us, like leave us a comment. Where are you from?
Yeah,
how'd you find it? Let us know, because that's unbelievable.
A lot of the kids are not on Facebook, but I'd love for them to join in on that. Just wild, man. And like I've sent you a couple of things over the last few weeks about just people jumping on with the Phillies and saying like how great the podcast is and how much they enjoy it. And again, like it's just crazy to me. That people use this as their Philly sports podcast. So
wild.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It's super humbling. Humbling. But I mean, I guess we'll talk about what you actually want to hear and not just us talking about how I had my like one moment of fame. That
to be fair, a lot of the podcasts do start with us just talking about nonsense. So
I know. That story will. And we've been holding that story for 2 weeks because we didn't want to tell it.
That's right.
We didn't want to tell it on like a random recap episode that we weren't sure everybody was listening to.
Yeah. Or it didn't quite fit the mood of the Phillies just lost games 5 and 6 of the World Series.
That's true. Because when that happened, it was 1-1. And the next night they just blew up and we were in such a good mood and you wanted me to tell it. And I was like, no, we'll wait.
That's right.
So, hey, there's actually a team that's 11 games into their season that we haven't talked about one time.
The Philadelphia Wings.
No. Also not the Union, who ruined all the vibes.
Yeah, seriously, come on. Could you have just won your game so that like, we could be feeling good about something?
Just any kind of positive vibe would have helped.
As soon as they lost, you knew the Phillies weren't winning that game.
Yeah, any kind of positive vibe. And we would be the only city in history to lose 2 major championships in one day.
Of course we would.
So, no, it's actually the basketball team.
Aha, them.
Yes, they are playing. They are playing game number 12 right now. They are down by 3 in in the third quarter. And guys, we're not going to spend a ton of time here. There's way too much to talk about tonight. We're just going to kind of run through where they're at, why they're there, and that's it for right now.
Yeah.
And we'll start the same thing we did for the Phillies. Hashtag fire Doc.
There we go.
There it is.
There you go.
Joe's got to go.
It worked with Joe. Here we go.
I mean, we have Glenn around the bend. Get him out of here.
I have very few thoughts.
5 and 6, buddy. What's going on?
Their defense is terrible.
Yeah. Which
despite
they tried
the
to
additions,
improve.
despite the additions of PJ Tucker and Melton, and having Halliburton still, or not Halliburton. What's his name? Thibault.
Thibault.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine.
Despite them,
And
their
a great
defense
interior defender too.
Their defense is terrible. It's mostly because Tyrese Maxey and James Harden can't guard anybody. And all the premier players are on the outside where you have to be able to guard someone. The second thing is that even after 11 games, Tyrese Maxey needs to be the catalyst of this offense.
Yeah.
James Harden needs to try to lead the league in assists. I don't need step back Harden. I don't want it. Even when he scored all those points, they were losing to like San Antonio and just bad teams, even though he was scoring 30 points. Tyrese Maxey runs this offense. James Harden, you should try and lead the league in assists whenever you get the ball. And Embiid is starting to finally kind of like come back to himself a little bit. Because he certainly wasn't happy just watching James Harden shoot a bunch of step backs. So, the team is not, I don't know. Sometimes they look like they don't care. Other nights they're trying hard. It's the beginning of the season. So I guess it's not they didn't obviously get off to a great start. I don't have anything prophetic other than I really just hope they give the keys to Maxey and let him and Embiid figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd because they seem to be more enjoyable to watch without Harden on the floor. He's out for a month, so we'll get a month of Maxey, doing his thing. He's not having a great night tonight though against Atlanta. Joe is going to go for another double-double. With all the step back shooting and ball control that Harden does, he still was averaging 10 assists through 9 games, which is crazy. It didn't feel like that.
I wanted it like 15.
Yeah, I'd like it higher too.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I'd like it higher.
James Harden gets 10 without trying.
But it feels again, Regs, like Doc has not figured out how to manage his rotations. Because this game was a tie game with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. They're down 11 right now.
Yeah.
And there's a minute left in the third. So 5 minutes swing, they 11-point swing. And when you look at who's in the game for them right now, it's Niang, House, Milton, Reed, Maxey. Like that rotation is not going to work against Capella, Young, Holiday, and I don't know who that is. AJ Griffin. That's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Like there's not enough offense on the floor to deal with Capella and Trae Young.
Yeah.
This has been Doc's Achilles heel at least since he's gotten here. I don't know what it looked like in LA, but this dude has no feel for his rotations. And yes, they don't defend well, but this seems to be a constant. I do agree with you about Tyrese. I now that the Philly season has ended, I'll be dedicating a lot more time to Sixers games. Clearly, we were pretty invested in the team across the street. So
that's right.
Have any of the newcomers impressed you at all? Like, Melton, House, Tucker, anybody?
I like Melton. I don't think we can expect PJ Tucker to give us a bunch over the regular season because of his age. He'll step it up for like those big nationally televised games when they matter. But he's just not going to be like the dog he is in the playoffs, like in game number 4. I like Melton. I think he's still figuring it out. I think just like most of the team seems to be doing on how they can best play together. Again, I just think that you take away so much of why you sort of brought him here if he just has to stand around watching Harden shoot step backs. So I'm hoping that they figure out how to use him better. Listen, I can't say anybody's like that impressive. These guys weren't brought over to be like superstars. They weren't brought over to, explode off the page at you. They were brought over to do some of the little things that this team wasn't doing. And I think that those things take a long time to play out. You're not going to realize that in 11 games.
Yeah. And there's definitely going to be some growing pains with the way that they kind of gel together. And they didn't start super well last year either.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time. This team's going to improve as the season goes on, but I do think if they're struggling come mid-December, I wouldn't be shocked if Glenn's on his way out. And that's where we're just going to call him Glenn.
Yeah.
He's not Doc right now. He's Glenn. He's
Yeah.
Glenn. So guys, I listen, I know most of you come here for Eagles Phillies talk, but we'll be doing a lot of Sixers stuff.
Yeah. We'll cover it.
We'll make sure we're covering it as the year goes, just like we have in the past. But time to move to those Birds, coming off their 8th win of this season. And Regs, we're gonna talk on that in a second. Actually, you know what? It's gonna be my Phixated tonight.
All right.
So we'll wait on that. Let me just go ahead and write that down so I don't forget, because I didn't come with a Phixated. No, it's not going to be my Phixated. We're going to talk about it now. So just a couple of quick notes on that game. Jalen Hurts, 21 of 27, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. Miles Sanders, 17 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. Dallas Goedert had 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Just overall, I know people were saying, oh, well, they were tested. They were put to the limit. Listen, they had to travel across half the damn country to play on a Thursday night. Like, again, they won comfortably. They settled in. They did what they had to do, and they won the football game. I don't know that there's a whole lot. I was at game 5. I didn't watch any of it.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing about the tackling was real, because I was watching it kind of on my phone while the Phillies, were on the TV.
Right.
The tackling was bad. They were obviously tired and not super excited to be playing the Texans on a Thursday night.
On a Thursday. Yeah. On the road.
Yeah, exactly. So it did take them a little bit to settle in. The defense did not look great overall. I don't know if Gannon was sort of maybe just trying to keep everybody healthy and not do anything nuts. It sort of seemed like one of those kind of games. He wasn't kind of pulling out the kitchen sink to beat the Texans. They were playing soft, as they usually do. They were missing a lot of tackles, to be fair. That's why that running back is not bad, that rookie that they got. So, but the offense, took a little bit of time to settle in. But again, not a game that ever felt like was out of their hands.
Yeah.
Yes, it was close in the beginning quarter, and they didn't score like they usually do in the second quarter. How they've been just absolutely blowing teams out of the water. But listen, we just saw in the NFL, like with what teams are losing to what other teams. Any team right now,
brother,
could beat anybody. And so, yes, are the Texans good? No. Is it still difficult to go on a short week? And again, like you mentioned this in the last pod where we talked about the Eagles, we're getting everyone's best shot because we are the only undefeated team left. So every team is getting as hyped as possible to play us. That's why the Texans came out and we're all fired up, to be really close at halftime. The Eagles settled down. They did what they had to do. Jalen didn't make it any worse by having bad turnovers.
Doesn't turn over the ball, that guy.
He had a fumble off off a bad snap, I think. Yeah, it was like a mistimed snap, and when none of the offensive linemen move, but Kelsey snaps the ball, and so he just got hit from behind, and they lost the ball. But other than that, he didn't throw the ball away. He got Goddard, obviously was very open, and got him the most involved. Like we said, this offense is just going to find the guy who's open that day, and they're just going to feed it to him until they decide to stop him. So another trap game that the Eagles just didn't lose. And that's, it is what it is. They do what they have to do to win. They don't care how pretty it looks or what the score is. They just want to win. And that's what they did.
Yeah, so before we jump to the Commanders, I want to touch on this because this is what I was going to say before, and then I wasn't going to say it, then I was going to say it, now I am going to say it. I am so fed up with, it's like, I feel like we have this conversation almost like tri-weekly on the show about like schedules and strength of schedule. And like, it doesn't matter. I was actually listening to the Kelsey Brothers pod tonight, and they were both talking about like how hard it is to win in the NFL week by week. How difficult it is to win in the NFL. These dudes are professional football players. I know what the Texans are, but the Texans on a short week at home is not easy for a team coming from the other side of the country. It's not. It's not. Winning every week in the NFL is hard. The body has a toll taken on it. Tape, it's the most advanced tape that you're going to find on the planet. Like, guys have good weeks, guys have bad weeks. You want to know why they're not losing right now, Regs? Their turnover differential is one of the best, not just this year, but like in a long time. And that is, yes, the defense is creating a lot of turnovers. That being said, Jalen Hurts refuses to make mistakes.
Yeah.
He refuses to. That's why they're 8-0.
Yeah.
That's why. It's not because of playing the Cowboys with Cooper Rush and not Dak Prescott. It's not because of, playing. This is my favorite. Well, you played Kirk Cousins on primetime and he's not good on primetime. Are we serious?
Yeah, right. What are they, 7-1?
That's what we're going with?
Yeah, right.
That's what we're going with. Like, because he's not good on primetime, that's why we beat him. Like, stop. This is even, anybody will say it. Anybody, like, Travis Kelce plays in the league and said on that show, it is very difficult to do what you guys are. He said it, we just lost to the Colts.
Yeah, right.
Like we were like touchdown and a half favorites, and we lost to the Colts. The Bills just lost to the Jets, and I know the Jets are improved.
No, but that shouldn't happen.
The Bills should win that game.
Yeah.
So I know that the odds of them going 17-0, not super high, right? Not super high. They're gonna have to beat Dallas again, and at that point, I don't even know if it's gonna matter. They're gonna have to beat the Giants twice.
Yeah. Injuries are still gonna happen. They're gonna have a week where they maybe are guys are sort of 70-30, or maybe 60-40. And if they were really like fighting for a playoff spot, they'd probably play. But there's going to be a game where like a lot of people are just out to give them an extra week of rest. Yeah. It's just going to happen because you need to save, you just need to keep working towards a playoff spot. They've started out unbelievably and are in a great spot to get one. But it's going to happen, man. They're not going to go undefeated.
Right. And it's okay when they do lose. This is a big week for them in the sense that the Cowboys play the Packers, and I anticipate the Cowboys winning that football game. But the Vikings play the Bills on the road, and having the Vikings lose another game gives the Eagles basically a 3-game lead on the Vikings.
Yep.
For that top spot. The Giants play the Texans, so I'd anticipate that they win. But right now, they hold 2 games on the Giants, and they get to play them twice.
Right.
So they're in a good space there. It's just annoying because I feel like no one ever wants to give Philly credit for anything. Like, it's just always been that way. Like they could go 17-0, and people would be like, "Oh, this is the luckiest 17-0 I've ever seen before." There were Astro fans that were tweeting out like a day after the World Series that the Mariners were the toughest team they played in the playoffs.
The Mariners didn't beat them.
Correct.
So,
but no one wants to give Philly credit.
Of course not. It's all right.
It's just the way it is, man.
Yep, it's all right.
So this sets up for the Commanders. Commanders are 4-5. They've sort of turned a corner here the last few weeks. Taylor Heineke took over for Carson Wentz after Wentz's injury. Carson Wentz, I think, is clearly done as a starter at this point. I just don't see another team jumping in on him. As I said, 2-1 since Heineke took over. They beat the Packers 23-21. They beat Indy 17-16, and they lost to Minnesota 20-17. Now, Taylor Heineke brings a little bit different dimension to this offense than what Carson brought. Taylor Heineke will run the ball. He won't just stand. He won't statue in the pocket. The Eagles won that game because they sacked Carson Wentz like 37 times. So they're going to have to, not that, again, Heineke isn't your Jalen Hurts type of runner, but he's not afraid to go. He's a little bit more of a, I trust my guys down the field, but like almost in a smart way, not in the Carson Wentz way. It's not like hero ball, but sort of played hero ball against the Vikings and threw a bad pick late in the game. So I don't know. There's some stuff to Heineke. Should the Eagles beat him? Yes, they 100% should, especially at home on Monday night.
Yeah.
Place is going to be insane. But we'll do our normal keys to the game here. And then predictions. They are 11-point favorites as of right now. 44 points is the total. So, Regs, I always defer to you here. Key to the game and score prediction.
Key to the game is front 4 pressure. I don't think Gannon's going to blitz again. Like, he just doesn't feel the need to. So, like you said, we won that last game with getting front 4 pressure. I think especially when you have a runner, if you can get like your D tackle pressure, because runners like to sort of shoot through those gaps in front of them. Mm-hmm. And especially guys that aren't super athletic, like your Kyler Murrays or your Jalen's, who can get to the out, or your Justin Fields, who can get to the outside. Mm-hmm. They really try and just shoot the gaps up the middle. So if they can get good pressure up the middle, I feel like that'll take some of that away, and it'll cause Heineke to have to make some quicker decisions. But also, if they get pressure, that means if he's running all over the place, they leave somebody in to spy. And they don't, you don't have to, but let's just say he's like chopped off a few of them. They'll leave somebody in there to just watch him every once in a while. But I'm not worried about this. It's a Monday night game at home after an extended, rest week, which obviously was needed after the short week. The Eagles will take care of business. There's nothing about the Commanders that scares me, even with Tyler Heineke. Like, there's nothing about this offense that worries me. So prediction-wise, I'm going to say I've been underselling the offense the past couple times. You've been like right on the money with your 34s and like 31s. Oh. All right. 28-13.
I
28-13. Possibly 31-13.
Okay. All right. No, that would get you to your 44. My key is to do what they did to them last time, which was throw the ball down the field. They really abused this secondary in the first matchup, and I'm hoping that they do take more shots down the field. against them. Watkins, Smith. I want to see AJ Brown get a couple downfield too. I mean, they did it against Pittsburgh, and I think they can do it here as well.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that in this game. You had success the first time, so why not do it again? But I do think that this one's going to be a little closer than what the first game was. I'm saying 27-17, and I think the 27 comes in the form of a late drive. They have to put it away. It either ends in a Jake Elliott field goal or another touchdown. So it'll either be like 20-17 late in the game or 24-17.
Do you think it's going to be close?
I do. I think it's going to be close. I just have this weird sneaking suspicion that this one's not going to be one that we just get to like lean back on the couch and, watch the last quarter relaxing. I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel like Taylor Heineke's going to be that like annoying little cousin that we have to keep swatting away.
I would feel that way if we were in Washington. I don't feel that way that we're in Philly.
I've said this to you before. Being in Washington's like being in Philly, though.
Yeah, that's very true. But at least
I don't know. I just feel weird about this game.
Hey.
I just feel weird about it.
That's
I don't think they lose, but I think it's going to be closer. I think that this could potentially be their most challenging game in weeks. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. Okay. Hey.
I think this one feels more uncomfortable than the Dallas one.
All right.
All right. Hey, let's do our recap some of our predictions here before we move into the Phillies. Okay.
Let's do it.
So at this point, we had so going into this game, I would have had them at 7-1.
Okay.
You would have had them at 7-1 as well.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're not that off. I had the Arizona loss. You had the Arizona loss, it looks like. Yeah. We both had the same loss. So, good for us.
That's not too shabby.
Not bad at all. Okay. Right now, 2-0 in the East. They win this one. That would put them at 3-0, halfway there for my one prediction.
Yep.
I have not looked up their rush defense ranking. Last I did, they were number 11. Sounds like it probably went backward last week, though, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that injury to
Jordan
Davis is going to knock my rookie prediction down quite a bit. They're definitely going to reach that combined 20 sacks.
Yeah, they're 15th in the rush defense right now.
Okay, so they're middle of the pack. I don't think we're going to get to number 1.
Yeah.
But I'm going to hit that 20 sacks one.
I think you are. Yep. I think that one's a pretty good bet.
I think I'm going to definitely not hitting Gainwell. That's for sure.
Nope.
The Jalen Hurts one looks good.
Yep.
3 Pro Bowl alignments still looks good.
Yep.
I think I'm going to have to start letting go of the Jalen Watkins thing.
Yeah, I think so.
It was looking. It looked
Jalen.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Jalen Watkins used to be a safety for them. Quez Watkins. I think he's probably got like 2, maybe at maximum 200 yards receiving. I don't even think that's it. He's probably closer to like 150.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's 600. Now, here's what could happen. If it gets late in the season and they already have it clinched, he's going to see a lot of time.
Yeah, that's true.
And he could stat pad quite a bit.
He could. That's
he
true.
Could stat
if he's
pad.
the number 1.
So, I mean, it would be like him and Zach Pascal.
Yeah, right.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm saying it's a long shot. Probably needs like 600 yards at this point.
Yeah.
But like, who knows? Again, he's the type of guy who in one game could end up with 150 yards.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the 1 seed right now,
that's still looking good.
I mean, that would be the one that I'd be happiest with, I think. Rex.
That's fair.
That'd be the one I'd be happiest with. All right, man. Hey, Phillies offseason.
Here we go.
So, real quickly,
you thought you were away from baseball, people.
You're not. You're spending the last half hour of this episode listening to us walk through the Phillies offseason with my dream offseason and then my like ultimate dream off-season move added to it.
I can't wait.
But before we get into that, congratulations to both Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto, who were announced as Silver Slugger Award winners at their respective positions. JT bringing home the hardware this offseason, bro. The Gold Glove Award and a Silver Slugger. Not bad, man.
I hope you're somewhere in a cryo chamber, just absolutely with your feet up and getting massaged or something. Just relax, buddy.
It would truly be golden if you would not like catching the World Baseball Classic too.
Oh, did he commit to that?
Yeah.
No. That's a bummer.
It is a bummer.
He's going to say no, right? He's going to back out.
I don't think he will.
I
don't think he will.
It's all right. He's going to be a 7 hitter for us, so it's no big deal.
I mean, if what I have written down happens, he might hit 9th for
whatever.
Christ's sake.
That's fine. He's going to turn into a normal catcher. Like,
yeah,
just go into the rest of
just
go into the rest of your life being an unbelievable defensive catcher who can still run. Like,
There's
I'll take
nothing wrong with that.
I'll take that.
Nothing wrong with that
all day long.
Yep, nothing wrong with it. So, what we decided to do, we did this last year, where I kind of came in with like this off-season plan that I would love to see happen. It's like the dream scenario. Likely none of it will happen.
That's my favorite part.
But it's definitely at least worth the fun of the conversation.
Oh, always.
Now, we did put the caveat on it at the beginning that this could very well change. The plan could change, and I could come back to you next Thursday saying, hold on, time out. We've got to redo the offseason. And we didn't want to do a Bryce is going to play offseason and a Bryce wasn't going to play offseason all in one episode. We just thought we'd go with the idea that Bryce is playing, and that's what we're going to stick with. There's a good chance that even if he needs Tommy John, he could be back in June to DH at the very least.
Yeah,
which
they were
is
talking
fine.
about Shohei getting the same kind of thing.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
But what would be the most ideal is if they did like the Tommy John light surgery,
right,
which is what Reese got. It's just going to depend on what the MRI shows. And that would have him back probably for opening day. He would get a very shortened spring training, which is fine.
Yeah,
but I need Bryce back in the outfield for like roster construction purposes.
Yeah, fair.
He needs to be in the outfield. I can't.
Yeah,
I just need him. I need him back out there just for what I want to do with the roster.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what I want to do with the roster.
Makes sense.
But it does for the purposes of this. A lot of guys were kind of released in the last couple of since the World Series regs, guys that people know, guys that people don't know. We won't go too crazy. I know Hans Kraus was a guy they released. He's one of the dudes that came back in the Spencer Howard trade with Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going clear to a 40-man spot. But some of the other guys not as important. But the two that I think most people probably already know about, Zach Eflin declined his option, his side of the mutual option. I think the Phillies were going to pick it up and try and figure something out, but it was going to be $15 million, and he wants to go start somewhere, and I don't think the Phillies had any intention of starting him. And honestly, now that I think about it in the moment, I doubt they were going to bring him back for $15 million to throw out of the bullpen.
Right. Yeah.
That's just money they could use elsewhere.
Yep.
And Gene Segura, Jeannie Bobini, they declined his option, and away he goes. Could he come back? Sure. If they miss on some of these big name shortstops, he could certainly come back, and that would be fine. That would be totally fine. But it's
not at the top of their list.
It doesn't feel like they're trying to bring back a 34-year-old second baseman.
Yeah.
When they can clearly improve with one of these 4 shortstops that are on the list. So right now they have 4 roster spots open on the 40-man. They added 2 guys today, but 2 guys that were already in the organization. They brought 2 dudes in off of waivers yesterday that'll probably compete for some sort of bullpen role or, to stick somehow, some way. Now, Regs, let me ask you this. Going into this offseason, and I asked this to the people on the Phixated fan page, so you can tell me if you want me to read their comments first or if you want to share yours. I asked them the moves that you hope to see the Phillies make, and I didn't ask for specifics.
Yeah.
Just what do you want to see them bring onto this roster? And I know there are 4 spots, but that doesn't mean spots can't be cleared through trades. So just what do you want to see added? Positions, numbers at those positions. What are you hoping for?
We're a podcast of the people. Let's hear what the people thought.
Okay, here we go. Mike Graybill, at least 2 starting pitchers.
Okay.
Kyle Mesa said he wanted Trey Turner, the Japanese guy who we talked about on the show.
Yep.
And a starting pitcher. Roger, good old
Roger.
Wants 2 starters, 2 bullpen arms, and a legit consistent hitter. Wade said already made some good moves in his opinion, but definitely wants some pitching. Kathy McBride said at least 2 starters, a closer, and Trey Turner.
Kathy.
Love that from her, actually. You'll see that in just a moment. And Adam Schaefer said one of Correa, Turner, Bogarts, and a top of the rotation starter. Regs, before you go, I just want to quickly mention, do I think they're going to get a starter? Yes. 100%. As a matter of fact, you'll see that when I go through my offseason. I think the Phillies fans have really turned this corner of like, we need pitching, we need Carlos Rodon, like this has got to be the guy. Pitching wasn't why they lost the World Series. And we're not going to go into that conversation again.
Yeah, right.
We were there already. That was not why. The offense was bad.
Yeah.
The Phillies had the 3rd best ERA of any postseason team, behind the Guardians and the Rays, who played 2 rounds, 3 rounds combined. So what do you want?
I want a shortstop.
He wants a shortstop.
But what I want from a shortstop is a bat that fits at the top of this lineup.
Bat at the top. Well, all 4 of these guys can do
yes.
that.
So that's why I think luckily it goes hand in hand, but I just wanted to clarify that I'm more interested in the bat of that person than I am.
Yeah, I want
being
a top
like the
guy
best
who doesn't strike out.
Yes. And then I don't need a top end starter. I need a solid number 3.
Okay.
And if I can get 1 or 2 decent bullpen arms somewhere,
okay,
I'll take that. But that's not at the top of my list. The top of my list is fixing this lineup to be more consistent and be more versatile and strike out less.
Okay. Well, are you ready?
Shall we jump into it?
Shall we?
Shall we?
Okay, we shall. We will. And we shall. All right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the starting pitching situation. So, once again, I agree that the Phillies need starting pitching. I absolutely do. And as a matter of fact, what I would like the Phillies to do is move into some sort of 6-man rotation to save some bullets, because Wheeler and Nola, especially early in the year,
throw the same amount of innings.
Yeah. So I'd really like for them to find a way to get into a 6-man rotation, which obviously includes Wheeler, Nola, and Ranger. I think Bailey Falter can be part of that. And then here are the 2 guys that I'm adding. I'm adding 2 starters. Okay. I'm signing one and trading for another.
Okay.
So the starter that I'm signing is a guy that we had talked about at the trade deadline quite a bit. He pitched against the Phillies in the postseason, pitched really well against them, will eat innings. He'll be 34 to start the season. I'd like to bring Jose Quintana to Philadelphia on a 2-year deal worth $26 million. So he would pitch in his years 34, 35 seasons for the Phillies. He's a guy who I feel like will continue to eat innings. He's learned how to pitch. He was really good against the Phillies both times they faced him.
Yes, he was.
He was really good. And if you look at his numbers, which I'm assuming you're probably pulling up right now.
I am, literally.
You'll see that he's a guy who collects innings in a start. If you scroll through his game log, he's probably 5-6 innings a start. ERA in the mid threes. If you dig pretty deep into it, he's a guy who locates well, doesn't throw super hard, but can really keep hitters pretty off balance. And he's a lefty, which I feel like they could use another one. He might be a good mentor for Ranger Suarez too. Any initial thoughts?
I think like the age thing, we're seeing pitchers, and especially pitchers like this, probably be fine as they get a little bit older. Mm-hmm. Listen, if the entire goal is for this guy just to eat innings, be another lefty, I think it's a good choice. Like that's what we're looking for. If that's his entire job, then mission accomplished.
And I would trust him in a playoff game. We saw what he did in a playoff game this year.
Yeah.
He dominated. If they don't take him out of that game, we might not score in that game.
Right. Literally.
So I really like him, and I'll talk a little bit more about why I didn't go to some other guys here in a little bit. The other guy is a Tampa Bay Ray currently, but he's a guy that I feel like they're going to trade because of their 40-man crunch. They just traded a first baseman yesterday, He-Man Choi, and I feel like...
Wasn't he their starting first baseman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Not where I'm going later in this conversation. Not where I'm going. I almost thought it was. No, but it's not. So the guy that I'm trading for is Ryan Yarbrough. He's like a 6'5" righty. He's had really good seasons for them, and recent through 80 innings. Not nearly what he had thrown in previous years. He had thrown 155 innings the year before. And I think he's like one of those flyer guys. And remember, we have a former member of that organization.
Yeah.
He would not cost you a lot. Like, I'm thinking a tier 5 prospect. And when I think tier 5 prospects, I think like a Derek Hall type of prospect.
Yeah.
And that's where I was kind of connecting, like, could make sense to use Derek Hall as a piece to move in this scenario. Now, Derek Hall's a nice depth piece for, to cover some time as a DH, but he's the type of player that you could deal for Ryan Yarbrough. And once again, I know it's not a knock your socks off starting pitcher, and I know it's probably disappointing in some lenses to some people, but if you go in a 6-man rotation to start the year, this is the guy that Andrew Painter can replace mid-season. And
yeah, that has to be thought of as a factor in all this.
Right. And that's something that people need to remember. Like, when you get into the playoffs, and again, they're gonna have to be careful with his innings. So 6-man rotation is really important that they do that, and they skip starts here and there, and they build to the point where we're not Steven Strasburging Andrew Painter in the playoffs and shutting him down there. Your goal, he threw 100 innings last year. He's only 20 years old. You're trying to stretch him to 150 innings. And you're going to want to save about 20 innings or so, 25 innings or so for a playoff run.
Yep.
So in that case, you're going to want to stretch those starts out. Ryan Yarbrough can be a guy that you can add another starter every 5th day, every 6th day, to stretch out some of those Andrew Painter starts, to give Wheeler a blow, to give Nola a blow. You need this type of depth. He's going to come cheap. This is the type of guy you want to bring on. So that gives them a rotation of Wheeler, Nola, Quintana, Suarez, Yarbrough, and Falter to start. That's a fine rotation. There's nothing wrong with that rotation. Now, some people will say, why not Rodon? Why not Chris Bassett? Why not Anderson, who they really liked? Why not Nate Eovaldi or Perez from the Rangers? Well, all those guys got qualifying offers.
Yeah, right.
So there's another guy who I'm going to mention later who got a qualifying offer who I'd much rather use that qualifying offer on and lose my pick for this year and not continue to lose, because we already lost a pick for Castellanos last year.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to lose. Like, it adds on, it tacks on. And if we want to be sustainable through as an organization, can't keep picking these, like, especially with what Rodon's going to cost you. Like, money wise, it's a $20 million pitcher. I don't know that he's worth the $20 million.
Right.
Whereas I do believe Quintana is worth $12-13 million a season for what he's going to give you. And Yarbrough is not really going to cost you nothing.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. That's your starting pitching. Those are your moves. Here's the other one. Extend Aaron Nola.
Okay.
This offseason. I don't know what the years look like, but somewhere in the range of 20 million AAV. I think that's fair value. The guy takes the ball every 5 days. You don't find those dudes often anymore. Aaron Nola can be he can hold down the rotation, be a middle rotation starter if these other guys pan out a little bit for years and years and years. For another 4 or 5 years. He can sit in the middle of the rotation and just continue to eat innings for you. So I would definitely consider that. It doesn't factor into this year, but I think this is the year. You don't want to wait until the offseason of next season to try and keep Aaron Nola here.
Yeah.
You want to try and do that now. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens before the season starts, that Aaron Nola is locked up for a long period of time, for another at least 4 or 5 years. Okay. So that's where I'm going with the starting pitching. Anything there that you want to talk to? I know it is not flashy or fancy, but I think those two guys are pretty nice additions.
Yeah. Listen, this is where I certainly concede to you on your in-depth knowledge of these guys. I agree with you, and I think a lot of people would, that if deep down you really think about what this team needs, it's exactly what you said. It needs guys who can eat innings, possibly come in and supplement a Wheeler or a Nola start so they don't have to be pushed for an inning and a half when they don't have to. We do have guys coming through the system that are, like you said, with Painter, who we're looking to get up here, maybe halfway through the season or something like that. So I think in that sense, making a huge splash, I think when you really think about it, isn't the right move for this team. Listen, you saw what you can do. Like, just look at the Noah Syndergaard innings from this playoffs. Like, yeah, he gave up that home run to Pena, but like 2 runs in 3 innings from that guy in a World Series game against that offense. Like, come on. Like, that's exactly what you're looking for. Did we see what a really good 5-man rotation or 4-man rotation can do? Like, yeah, Astros had it figured out. So the more that you can get towards that part of it, I think you're right. And the more you can do that without breaking the bank is even better.
Yeah. Well, so, and you talk about breaking the bank, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of keep track. where it depends on where you look for what the Phillies have in terms of money. They'll blow past the first tier of the luxury tax again. They won't go above the 250 mark, which is the second tier. So I played it safe at about $75 million was like what they're going to spend this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So if Quintana's 13, that takes you to 62, and then Yarbrough made about three, almost 4 last year. So we're gonna push him to 5, and that puts them at about 57 left to spend. Okay.
Okay.
So that's gonna take us then to the bullpen. And listen, I'm not gonna go wild in the bullpen here, Regs. I think that they can fill some of their bullpen issues from within. I'm looking at a guy like Eric Miller this year to take the steps forward. Lefty throws pretty hard and did well in his minor league stints this year. And then I really think they're going to try and make Griff McGarry a bullpen arm.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a while.
And, they tried it last year, struggled a little bit at first, but that's to be expected from a guy transitioning to a bullpen role. But I think those two, and again, I know you're leaning a lot on younger kids there to do that, but you like at some point you do if you're going to get with these big contracts. Like you do, these younger guys have to pan out. They have to.
Well, yeah, just look at San Diego and Houston. Those guys weren't big name free agents. Those were young guys who were coming in and just they had the opportunity and they took advantage of it.
Right. So
I mean, I get it. San Diego had Hader, like outside of him, obviously, but
correct. And if you're looking at the market for some of these relievers right now, like what Edwin Diaz got, 5 years, $105 million. Get out of here. Yeah. The Suarez guy that Bryce hit the home run off of today, 5 years, 45. What was it? 45 million.
Yeah. 5
years. The guy's 31.
Yeah.
Like these contracts that are being given out, the length for relievers, if that's the market, I'm not trying to get in that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm not trying to get in that. I'm either trying to find trades, or I'm going to lean on some of my young guys. So, here's what they already have. We talked about this already. They have, I'm just writing it down so that I have, my ducks in a row. Alvarado, Dominguez, Brogdon, who are probably going to be your main 3 guys, right? Those are the guys you're leaning on the most. Nick Nelson, who's going to be your long man and just, get the crap slapped out of him here and there. And then Andrew Bellotti, who was really good for them this year and hopefully continues to improve. You add McGarry and Miller to that. Okay. And then here's the guy. A 1-year deal. I think you can get him on 1 year. You might have to double this and go to 2 for $14 million. You get your closer, Kenley Jansen.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I know he's aging. I understand that. He still did really well in Atlanta this year. Like led the National League in saves well this year. I know Topper doesn't like using closers, but this would allow him to use Dominguez and Alvarado however he feels he needs to use Dominguez and Alvarado. And then he could just use Jansen in the 9th. It allows for him to have more flexibility with Dominguez and Alvarado, and then Jansen gets the ball, and that Jansen can face anywhere in the lineup and get outs. So this is the guy that I feel solidifies their bullpen and allows them to use their weapons the right way.
Very interesting.
He can deploy Sir Anthony. He can deploy Alvarado wherever he wants to without having to worry about, well, who's going to take down the 3 outs in the 9th. And you know me, I don't like the closer role.
Yeah.
But if you're going to use these two the way that Topper wants to use them, you do have to have somebody that you can trust in the 9th inning.
Right.
Because these are the only two guys that you can trust.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to take down 3 outs in the 7th inning in the middle of the order and you want to use Sir Anthony there, then you can use Sir Anthony there knowing that you have the guy in the 9th.
Yep.
And Topper wants to use these two that way.
Yeah.
So
very
in
interesting.
order to do that, you've got to get the guy. And Kenley Jansen's not getting a 5-year deal. He's too old for that.
Yeah. Right.
So you might be able to work a 1-year deal, potentially a 2-year deal. Again, he struggled a little bit a year or 2 years ago in LA, but found a new home in Atlanta and had no issues this year.
Yeah.
We have 41 saves, something like that.
Exactly.
He was like ridiculous. Is that what he was?
41, yeah.
41 saves.
Yep.
Was he 41 for 48?
Ooh, good question.
I'm just curious. I'm sure he blew a couple in there.
I'm sure he did. Hold on. I'm looking it up. Where's my baseball reference page?
While you're looking, your feelings on him, you're not Regs. You're scaring me a little bit in your reaction.
I'm shocked more than anything, if I'm quite honest.
Okay.
Save opportunities. He had 41 saves, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I see the save opportunities? I'll find it. But anyway.
Okay. Don't worry about it. You can just look for BS, blown saves.
I'm looking and also thinking at the same time. My brain
No,
is
you're
starting
good.
to explode.
You talk. I'll look for it.
Okay,
You talk.
that works. I just wasn't sure the sort of direction you were going to go there.
Okay.
When you explain it, and again, I know people like it when we argue about things, but I agree with you that having someone in that position allows Topper to be flexible with the other two guys, which he obviously wanted to do, but he had just, when you want to bring those guys in when he wanted to, but also have them ready for the 9th, it's just an impossible situation. I wasn't expecting that name, if I'm very honest. I knew he pitched well this year, and obviously at only $7 million, like that's nothing, certainly nothing crazy. Even if you have to tack on the second year, I don't know if he'll be good for 2 years in a row, or 3 years in a row.
Just to be clear, I'm giving him $14 million.
Oh, a year.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was 14
Yes.
for the 2 years.
No, he'll demand that. He's not going to make less than like 10.
Okay, well then I really hope it's only one. But anyway, but you're right. I think having that guy that Topper doesn't have to make a decision about. Listen, where we've seen Topper kind of get into it is I do think, in reflecting in the past week or so, that he started to be a little jumpy getting his starters out, especially in the playoffs. Was it completely unwarranted all the time? No. Like Nola went single to load the bases. Was he going to get out of that inning with any less than Alvarado did? Probably not, if we're honest. But maybe, you never know.
Yeah.
Do I think he should have taken Wheeler out in retrospective? Not with how good that guy was throwing that night. But again, that is completely, Monday morning quarterbacking. But I do think that having someone that he doesn't have to think about will just make it that much easier. Just a very interesting name that I wasn't ready to hear. Very interesting.
You heard it, and there it is.
Did you figure out how many blown saves he had?
No, I'm not finding it either. I feel like I saw earlier.
Google it. I'm going to Google it directly.
7 or 8, I feel like sounds right. Because he had a pretty high whip for a closer. So, but I don't know. I really like the option of like a 7th, 8th, 9th in some order of close games of Dominguez, Alvarado, and Jansen. And,
yeah,
having Connor Brogdon and Bilotti sort of eating up the middle innings. hopefully McGarry, Miller, if that's the way they go, finds, a nice home. And here's the thing, Regs, if everything else goes according to plan and you're successful all across the board elsewhere, then you can go get relief help at the deadline.
Yep.
Like, that's a place you can kind of cover flaws.
Yeah.
If it's managed right.
He had 7.
Okay, I was close. So he's 41 for 48, and who knows what those blown saves look like too,
Yeah,
I can tell you right now, when we saw him
he's only ever had 8. 8 has been his highest number.
Yeah, and that was probably the worst year he had in LA.
Yes, 2019.
Yes, which was that year was bad.
Yeah.
But with 50 opportunities, you're absolutely bound
That
to blow.
doesn't seem that bad to me. If
No,
I'm honest,
really,
it's like
not.
7 games out of 162, like that you blew a save. Okay.
Right. And sometimes a blown save is the way that the stat is done is just, it's weird, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Who knows what happened in those games? But I feel like this is a position they've been seeking for years and just haven't found the guy.
Yeah, for sure.
This is a guy who's done it. Now, he'll probably come here and suck, but like, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Listen, I don't think there was any secret that I was going here. This is the guy that I have been talking about since like last offseason as a free agent and throughout this season. And I need it. I probably will be happier if they do this than I was when they got Bryce Harper.
Wow.
And here's why I say this, because this is a dude who I so much desire to be on the Phillies. Defensively, offensively, speed-wise, his game will translate through the contract.
Yeah.
It will translate through the contract. Trey Turner, 8 years, $272 million.
Ooh,
annual,
buddy.
The AAV is $34 million a year.
Woo. Isn't that more than Bryce is getting?
It is.
How do we think Bryce feels about that?
I think Bryce said that Trey Turner's his favorite player in baseball.
Okay.
So I think Bryce would feel pretty good. Remember, Bryce said that he took the contract he took.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he wanted more talent to come.
Yep, that's true.
Now, people will say, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Like, that's way too much money for him. We don't have that. We have the money. And it still leaves them $9 million under that tax threshold. Now, I need to remind people that next year, Scott Kingery can come off the books with a $1 million buyout, and you save about $15 million on the fact that Scott Kingery won't be in the org anymore. Can you believe that? We're next year we'll be spending $14 million on Scott Kingery.
How is that possible?
Because we extended him before.
Oh, that's right.
Was any good?
That's right.
So yes, this is a lot of money, and over the course of time, like, he will eat a lot of salary space on this contract. And are the other shortstops going to be cheaper? Yeah. I don't know by a lot. Like, I think Carlos Correa is going to get more. He's a Boris guy. Yeah. I think he'll end up over $300 million easily. Xander Bogaerts potentially could be a little less, and I would not be upset about Xander Bogaerts at all. I think Bogaerts could take a hit because of the shift going away. He hits a lot of balls to right field, so he could take a hit because of that. I really don't want Dansby Swanson. He strikes out a ton.
Yeah, we don't need one of them.
We can't have more strikeouts.
Yeah.
So Trey Turner is that. So that's like my dream scenario, right? But then, Regs,
and a lot of other people's dream scenario.
You knew I was coming with the pie in the sky.
I've been waiting for.
I was gonna take it a step further, right? Like, I'm not stopping there. I'm gonna keep going. there's one more thing that I want to happen. Now, please know that I realize how ridiculous this is, which is why I'm saving it for last. As if you draw the line, the box around what I just did in the offseason, and you put something way outside the box and say, okay, hold your horses, Mike. Take it easy. I understand. I understand where this sits, but let me walk you through it. Dave Dombrowski was last the GM where?
The Tigers, right?
After that, he was in Boston.
Oh, yeah, Boston. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. A few years back, Boston got to a point with a certain superstar center fielder when he was 1 year away from being a free agent, and they could not find common ground on a contract. And they traded Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. Well, there's a certain corner infielder who's 1 year away from his free agency, and they're not finding common ground on a contract. We could use a corner infielder.
You might say.
We have a corner infielder that we could give, so the salaries would trade off. We also have two prospects that I feel like we have to do something with. We have a pitcher and a center fielder. Dombrowski knows this player. This player would take this roster to a whole nother level. So, indulge me in this deal. Rhys Hoskins, Mick Abel, and my favorite prospect, Johan Rojas.
Okay.
To the Boston Red Sox for Rafael Devers. Regs won't speak to me right now.
What? Why would Boston do that?
Why did they trade generational player Mookie Betts?
I understand. I get it, but they can't do it twice, right?
They haven't signed the guy.
Devers kills us.
Devers kills everybody.
God.
He kills everybody. Now, here's the interesting thing, because what people will say is, well, who plays first base?
Right.
I've been quoted on this show as saying Alec Bohm should not move to first base. If Rafael Devers comes to Philadelphia, Alec Bohm should move to first base.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I do believe Rafael Devers' future position is a first baseman.
Okay.
I do believe that. And I think, you could potentially just test the waters there and see what fits. Again, this is ultimate pie in the sky.
Yeah.
Mind you, I think they have to decide what they want to do with Mick Abel. He feels like he's not in the same conversation that he once was in this organization. Johan Rojas is tearing the world apart in Arizona Fall League right now. He also is a 40-man situation. We have to put him on the 40-man or he goes in the Rule 5.
Yeah.
So you're better off trading him and getting something than letting him walk in the Rule 5, because now you have Brandon Marsh for 5 years.
5 years, right.
Johan Rojas he's not going to make an impact on the roster.
Yeah, right.
So use him to get something that can make an impact on the roster. Now, here's the thing. You got to bring Rafael Devers over here with the intent to sign him next year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another big contract on this log, which means you're going to need some of these young guys to continue to pan out. Stott's going to have to continue to pan out. Marsh is going to have to pan out. Bohm's going to have to pan out. You're going to have Painter pan out.
Mm-hmm.
Ranger's going to have to pan out.
Yeah.
These guys in the bullpen are going to have to pan out because you can't keep paying guys
right.
Large amounts of money.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're going to have a lot of money tied up in some of these dudes, but you don't trade Abel and Rojas if you're not intending on bringing Devers back.
Man.
And keeping him here. So they're going to have to figure that out if they do bring him over. But again, that's super pie in the sky, and I don't know that it's feasible, doable, possible.
Yeah.
But can I just do this for a second? I just want to
Yes.
I just want to do something for you.
All right.
Let's do without Devers for a second, okay? Let's just do without Devers. This is what I would do if it were no Devers, okay? I would go Stott, Turner, Harper, Casty, because I do think he's bouncing back. Schwarber, JT, Bomer, Reese, Marsh. Reese's offensive struggles when he's not going well are a lot better hitting eighth.
Oh my God. Like, yeah.
And I'll say this, it doesn't need to be Trey Turner for that to happen. It could be Bogarts. Like Bogarts can hit second.
Hit number 2 anymore.
No,
and
but
JT
that's
can't
why
hit 3.
Right, and that's why this change. Now, I put Stott there at the leadoff spot. I doubt they go that route at the beginning, unless he's unbelievable in spring training. I still think they start the year with Schwarber leading off, but that's my dream scenario there.
Yeah.
If it's Devers and Turner, if it's both of them, for those of you that didn't see, I just took a long stare at the screen. Now we could have a lot of fun here, Rags. Like
really?
You could
Seriously?
you could lead off Harper. You could lead off Turner. You could do all these. Like,
I need Bryce Harper with men on base, please.
I know. I'm just saying. There's so many fun things you could do. What I anticipate happening is some sort of like Turner leads off.
Yeah.
Devers probably hits second. You could probably hit Harper there. You could go JT there if you want to. Like, there's all sorts of things you could do, but I'd probably just do Devers Harper. They both hit lefties fine, so I don't think I'd mess too much there. Then you could do your rotation: Casty, Schwarber, JT, Bohm. Actually, there you could go Stott. Bohm could hit eighth. Marsh hits ninth. There you go. So without Devers, it would be Stott, Turner, Harper, Casty, Schwarber, JT, Bohm, Reese, Marsh. Your rotation, like we said before, would be Wheeler, Nola, Quintana, Suarez, Yarbrough, and then a sixth kind of floater. You add Kenley Jansen to the back end of your bullpen with a couple of rookies. If you have Devers, Turner, Devers, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, JT, Stott, Bohm, Marsh. And that's the best lineup in baseball. That's not it's not just the best lineup in the NL East. It's not the best lineup in the National League.
Lord.
It's the best lineup in baseball. And the other piece to this, Rags, is you do it for this year because Devers isn't going to cost you a lot more than what Reese is going to cost you. I'm going to look up what his ARB number is going to be, just because I think it's important to know. You do it this year, and then you make the necessary adjustments to make the money work next year when the time comes. So if that means you have to trade somebody and eat part of the contract just to make the money work, or put a prospect in a trade, like, you do that to do that.
Yeah, right.
Right. But the offense is why they didn't win. They were 2 wins away from the World Series. I mean, you want to go for it.
He's
you
only
go
making
for it,
11 million or 17 next year.
No, he made
11 this year.
No, that's estimated earnings over over the years. So he'll jump again. He'll probably jump more than Reese will jump in this arbitration. But the way that I did it, there's still 9 million. So say they both had 11 million this year, and he jumps another 7, they'd still be under that second tier of tax.
Boy, wouldn't that be crazy?
It would be. That's why it's the way outside of the box part of the offseason.
Seriously. God, these are fun. I love when we do this.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll keep tabs on what happens in the offseason.
Yeah. I think if we just wrap it up, like, because we got to get to your fixated.
Yeah.
we saw, like you said, we can't lose sight of the fact that the offense let this team down ultimately in the World Series. Plain and simple. Was it highlighted by like huge pitching mishaps? Yes. But a good offense can like not put up maybe getting no hit in the World Series and then scoring like 3 runs in the next 2 games.
Right.
The problem was their 2 and 3 hitters struck what were a combined 2 for 30 something in the World Series.
Right.
With 20 plus strikeouts. You left your best hitter with no one on base 80% of the time, unless Schwarber got a walk. You know, it can't happen. It can't happen. You cannot bring Bryce Harper up to the plate with nobody on base unless he's leading off an inning. And however you have to make that happen is what you have to do for this team. You need guys who don't strike out, who just put the ball in play, who have the swings that allow you to do that. Rhys Hoskins' swing does not allow him to be a guy who just puts the ball in play.
No, especially against guys who throw as hard as they do in the postseason.
And JT's does, but with the amount of innings he's catching, he just freaking gets tired.
Yeah.
And he just can't do it. And look, you can't argue with that. The man was the best defensive catcher in baseball. So we're going to take that side of him, but he's not a 3-hole hitter anymore. He's just not. Rhys's inability to change his swing to be able to hit outside pitches to the opposite field, you're not a 2-hitter. You're just not. The top of that lineup has to change to allow guys to get on base for your best hitters. And then we just pray that Nick Castellanos finds the ability to swing a bat again and recognize what pitches look like out of pitchers' hands.
I think he'll be fine.
I hope so. I want to see a hot Nick Castellanos and what this like city does, like how they just eat it alive.
Still think he was hurt.
I agree, but it was bad.
Still think he was hurt.
All right. That was all.
So we'll see.
Man, it's going to be fun.
I just think that Bryce Harper comment after the World Series kind of said it all.
Yeah, and
we've got John, we've got Dombrowski. They both know, they both know what to do. We're gonna add some pieces, and we're gonna get back.
And
here.
like we've been texting a lot. Dombrowski's been here before. John Middleton has the taste in his mouth now.
Yep,
we've talked about this so many times.
Yep. And they've got pieces they can move now.
Yep.
They've got a couple of pieces, couple of prospects they can move, and
that's right.
They've got need and can make some things happen here. And I think the elephant in the room is what happens with Rhys Hoskins. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But they're definitely at a shortstop.
Man, it's gonna be fun.
We still haven't gotten that Dave Dombrowski trade yet, man.
Yep.
And I think it's coming. I do. I think it's coming. I think this is the offseason. He pulls the trigger on the big trade to bring some sort of bell cow in here.
Yeah.
That's going to change the complexion of this organization. And I just can't imagine a team that has Trey Turner, Rafael Devers, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos in it.
Yeah.
Alec Boehm hitting 8th.
Yeah,
guy hit 280 this year.
Right.
Unbelievable. And Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh down at the bottom too.
Yeah.
It would just be, seriously. So Phixated.
What you got, bud?
We talked about this last week. I want to do my thank you to the Phillies tonight. We talk about all the time. We love baseball. We love the sport. We love this team. We love this organization. And we've had almost a full week to sort of reflect on the World Series and just the journey that the team took us on for a month. Like a full month of just endless excitement and day after day of like, what are they going to do next? And the growing confidence that they were going to win the World Series. And of course it didn't end the way that we were hoping to, but, that magic, even if they get back there again next year, or the year after, whatever it is, the magic of this season, I don't think will ever be matched. I said it to you. I've said it to many people. This team took me on the most enjoyable month-long run of baseball I've ever experienced in my life. And that includes 2008. This month of baseball was so far beyond what I could have ever imagined as a baseball fan. I mean, it was just moment after big moment after big moment. We just didn't have those moments in 2008. We just didn't. Like, we had the Matt Stairs homer.
Yeah.
Like, we had the Shane grand slam. But these moments, the Reese home runs that just always came in the biggest moments, the Bryce home run. Like, are you kidding me? Those things just don't happen. They don't happen. The Brandon Marsh home run, the 5 home run game, the only thing this was missing was like the walk-off. We didn't have a walk-off.
Yeah.
The Ranger Suarez coming in 2-pitch out with the tying run on third base. Like,
watching it in a country club bar in Southern New Jersey
after being rained on all day.
That's right.
Just moment after moment of us clinging to this team and the celebrations after every series, and the manager who was an afterthought for years and years and years and years in the sport, and got to experience those clubhouse moments and the players yelling how many games is topper. Like, we just won't have that same magic that we did. Even with a World Series title, I don't know that we'll ever match the magic that we experienced over the last month. And that's okay. Like, that's okay. That's left for this 2022 team. And, I know the song was like, we're dancing on our own, but like, we danced with all of them. Like, this whole city was dancing with them every single game, every single night, every single win. We were right there with them. And this it won't be a team I'll never forget them. I'll never forget this team for like the journey that we went on, because if you were to tell me on October 4th that we were going to run to within 2 games of winning a World Series, I would have laughed at you, and you would have laughed. Yeah. And I think anybody who was real about this team would have laughed, but they picked up another gear, another energy. They got the monkey off their back. And I just don't know that I could appreciate a team the way that I appreciated this team for everything that they brought us through. Yeah, they were maddening at times, and the offense was really frustrating. And Aaron Nola with his frustrating start. Like, there are a lot of pieces that were frustrating, but ultimately the feeling that I have when I think about them is a feeling of like satisfaction and just pure joy for everything that they accomplished. And I actually met a Met fan today, owned a food truck that he came to our school, and he had a Met tattoo, and he saw my lanyard, my Phillies lanyard, and he was like, I can't talk to you. And we joked a little bit, and then he goes, listen, man, he's like, I think I even found myself rooting for him at one point. Like, and I think that says something. Like, I think baseball fans who followed this team and watched their journey understood the magnitude of what they were doing. And I just feel like, this isn't the best team we're going to see in this run. I think they're the most magical team. They're the most fun team from the perspective of what we experienced, but I don't think they're the best team. And that could be this year, that could be in 2 years, but I think the best team for us is yet to come. And that being said, I just want to say thank you and cheers to my favorite Phillies team now. By far my favorite Phillies team. They just had everything about them made them, one that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. So thank you, Phils. We'll kind of end our Phillies season here.
Yep.
And, as things happen in the offseason, we'll certainly cover them. Next week we'll have probably some Bryce Harper news to talk about, and maybe we'll have one or two players brought onto the roster that we can touch on. But we're gonna leave the 22 team right here in this episode. I mean, it's not often, Regs, that we go right from the World Series talking about free agency. We're usually talking about free agency for a freaking month.
It's never happened.
So I think that's why we were having such a hard time deciding if we were going to wait or if we were just going to go. And we decided just to go.
Yep.
Like, we were like, we're just going to do it tonight because usually we would do it like 2 weeks ago.
Right. Yep.
But we just went with it tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I think I enjoyed it.
Well, we'll see. If I get one of them, Regs, we'll feel good about it. Just one of them. Bring me Kenley Jansen if I can,
There you go.
Actually, you bring me freaking Trey Turner.
We'll take Trey Turner first, please.
Bring me freaking Trey Turner. Bring me Trey Turner. Bring me that freaking speedy son of a b. All right, everybody. We appreciate you listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you click subscribe below. You can follow us on Instagram.
We're at 23.
7 more. Come on. Come on.
Just give me that quarter century mark. I want 2 more.
Come on, Keith and Skylar.
I was about to say.
Tell your friends. Follow us on Instagram at B&B Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the same handle. You can follow the show at the Phixated Pod. We started tweeting from there again. You can follow me at the Mic Drop 5. Follow Regs at Big Regs with a Z. You can follow us on the Phixated fan page. We're so close to 100. Come on. Gotta get there.
Before the end of the year, we need these milestones.
Gotta get there. Yeah, we gotta get to 100 by the end of the year. And certainly make sure you click the link for the merchandise in the episode description. But as always, we appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us. We love y'all. Be safe this week. Be kind to someone. Be good and take care. For the last time for the 2022 Phils, go Phils. But now it's go Birds. Bring me Trey Turner.
Go Phils. We love you.
Oh my God! Deep to right field, way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.